The final three have been announced for the number one prospect in the 2026 class when it comes to college basketball. And, well, I guess we have to admit that one guy may have whiffed. What's cooking? Welcome back into another edition of Now We Can Talk Like Fans on ESPN Louisville Plus. My name is Justin Sofro, and of course, if you haven't already, you know what we're going to do here. We're going to cover all things cards, cats, bourbon, and bluegrass. And of course, I've got your latest update when it comes to the recruitment of one Tyran Stokes. We talked about it in the past. We talked about some rumors about some whiffing that's been going on. And well, I guess we just now finally have to sit in it. And I'm talking about those that are on the side of one Pat Kelsey and the University of Louisville, as the final three has been released and announced by one Tyran Stokes on his Twitter account. And there it is. There it is. Tyran Stokes announces that he has three contenders left for his services for the number one prospect in all of the 2026 class, the high school class for the college basketball recruitment. And it's the final three. As much as it pains me, University of Oregon, the University of Kansas, or I guess Kansas University, they go by KU, and then the University of Kentucky are the finalists to potentially land the services of one Tyran Stokes. We talked about the rumors in the past and what had gone on, and I know I upset a lot of people. We did one story talking about the whiffing of Mark Pope and in the recruitment of trying to get Tyran Stokes and what we thought was going to happen around the time of one Tyran Stokes' birthday. We had some feelers out there, or maybe some reports. I know when Joe Tipton talked about the possibility of him committing to his school of choosing during that birthday weekend of his. And with that, the two other members of the Final Five have dropped out. And that is the University of Louisville and the University of Southern California, or maybe it's better terminology to use that they got dropped by Tyran Stokes. When this news came out around this sometime this weekend, I believe Sunday morning was the earliest that anybody had an opportunity to talk about the situation with Tyran Stokes. One, Phil Baker, after being pestered by all the texters and callers into ESPN 680, 1057, Sundays, 10 a.m. to noon. They're on the Sunday morning hangover, had to talk about the situation about Tyran Stokes and kind of talked about it like this.
Tyran Stokes, Louisville native, number one player in the class. Louisville and USC are no longer in contention for the Louisville native. It is Kentucky, Oregon, and Kansas. If it's not Oregon, Louisville fans are going to be very upset. Obviously, that he is all in all and he does wonderful things. He did stuff down at the Dirt Bowl. The family seems like comes from a great family, doing some really good things down there. But the things that are fascinating to me is that they have made it known that they are Louisville fans. The Kentucky dynamic, how is that going to sit?
And that really is going to be the biggest question mark. In the end, where will Tyran Stokes go? He is not going to Louisville. So let's just go ahead and get it out of the way and just say it. Pat Kelsey whiffed on the recruitment of Tyran Stokes. From the beginning, we had heard, I don't know how many times I need to talk about this, but we talked about Tyran Stokes and Tate Kenny being guys that were presumed Louisville leans. Louisville, I want to say, commits to be, but they were both leans toward Louisville. We talked about last year how much time did we spend over the last couple of years talking about how much money that the University of Louisville has to throw around to go get the guys that they want to get and to go swing it, put it on the table and be competitive to go win national titles. Now, this is my feeling how I would have felt maybe just a couple weeks ago, maybe a week ago. It's how I would have felt. I would have felt like the sky is falling with Pat Kelsey not landing him. And with the University of Louisville and Pat Kelsey just frankly saying, no, we're not willing to pay whatever the amount of money that he's asking for, that the University of Kentucky, Oregon, and the University of Kansas are obviously willing to pay. I at that time, I would have said that this is the biggest flub that the University of Louisville could have had, because to me, I think being the University of Louisville, how many times, how many chances, how many opportunities do you get to go land the number one recruit in all of college basketball for that season? Not very many of those do you get them, especially one who is from your backyard. Going off of that, though, there have been a couple of things that have changed. I watched, and I am somebody who will say that I I take a lot of stock in all forms of play. Exhibition games mean as much as regular season games to me. Come at me, I don't care. I disagree with you. I think exhibition games are just as important, especially when you're playing the guys who are going to be playing throughout the season. You're playing against Kansas and Peterson, and you saw the dynamic of how that worked out. And you saw Louisville, frankly, got worked for a lot of that. Now, coming out of that game, coming out of the other side where I'm watching Kentucky trounce Purdue at home. And I started to get a little bit worried. I started to get a little bit itchy under the collar, if you will. Especially thinking about, okay, well, Kentucky supposedly has spent $22, and I think it's been confirmed, $22 million on this roster, and Louisville spending a poor measly little $8 million. Maybe we need to get our funds up. We need to get the money flowing to go win us. Go buy me a championship is what I'm saying. And I had a feeling, okay, well, maybe that's what Kentucky's going to do. They dominated the presumed number one team in the nation, and they looked as good as they did. And I sat with that for a bit, and it was frustrating, and it was what it was. And then we had the second round of games, and Louisville didn't change this too much to me. I'm sorry, I don't care if they're playing Bucknell. That game still matters, but you're playing Bucknell. You're not playing at Kansas. You're not playing a Power 5 conference team. But little old Kentucky came up against a buzzsaw that was Georgetown, and the greatest coach coaching in college basketball, Ed Cooley, out there. Love me some Ed Cooley. I know everybody either loves or loves to hate on him, but Ed Cooley came in there and did his thing against Mark Pope, and that maybe recalibrate a little bit of this. If Louisville basketball can have a successful season and be a competitor in the NCAA tournament, winning, I would say at least getting to the Sweet 16 this year. I'm sorry, you got to win the NCAA tournament. Then I will feel a little bit different about being picky and choosy with how much money that the University of Louisville is going to spend on these players. That being said, the University of Kentucky has a great chance, and for all intents and purposes, the expectation was that he was going to commit on his birthday weekend back a few weeks ago to the University of Kentucky. Maybe some things leaked out. Word got out that he was a verbal commit, that he was going to commit. He didn't like it. He wanted to have a little bit more attention on him. He wanted to have a little bit more fun with this, so it continues to drag on. I still think in the end, he will land at the University of Kentucky. That being said, as a Louisville fan, my preference, is it Oregon? Is it Kansas? Is it Kentucky? Obviously, it's not Kentucky, even though I think that's where he's going to go. No matter what, when it comes to the rivalry, when it comes to the hometown guy who grew up loving Louisville and going to Kentucky again because you're not willing to pay, who does that remind me of? Not exactly the same circumstances, but it reminds me of losing out. And I get it because Louisville brought in Sebastian Telfair, and that was an immense failure with the way that failed to come to fruition. And then you lose a guy like Rondo to go play for Kentucky. And this seems like another situation like that, if you will. That being said, do I want Oregon? Do I want Kansas? Which one would I like to see him land at to ease the pain for me? I know a lot of people that were thinking that Louisville needs to be championing Oregon in the situation. It's fine. I can agree with that because Oregon is the least of all evils, right? You just got waxed by Bill Self. You saw him a little pat on the tummy to Pat Kelsey, and he was, maybe a little bit frustrated, even though that's not exactly how it played out. It's just the picture's perfect. What can you say? Especially after the way the game played out. But me personally, I can kind of understand, and I don't agree with it, which maybe was one reason why Louisville probably, in the end, maybe needs to leave Adidas. But I can kind of understand why, after the last decade of drama and then blaming stuff on Adidas and the issues that we're having and kind of throwing them a little bit under the bus while kind of sticking with them, but throwing them under the bus at the same time. Maybe there's one reason why they're willing to go in with the road cowboy that is Bill Self. Billy S., who's willing to do whatever he wants, and he doesn't give a good bleeping damn. So at this time, I don't know. I think either way, Kansas, I don't care. They got to take Kenny. That's fine. If they get him, absolutely. Oregon is my power rankings number one. I would prefer them to go there. But at the same time, I still think in the end, he ends up being a Kentucky Wildcat, and we're just going to have to suck that one down and deal with it and just kind of get over it in the end. Louisville fans, Kentucky fans, let me know your thoughts. Are you tired of this story? Are you tired of hearing about Tyran Stokes? Just commit already. Get this over with. Let us move on. Or what is your opinion? Let me know in the comment section down below if you haven't already. Do me a solid favor, smash the freaking like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon to stay notified for all of our latest videos. You can follow me at Justin Sofro on Twitter. Of course, you can follow ESPN 680, 1057, and 93.9 The Ville on all other platforms. We'll be talking cards, cats, bourbon and bluegrass, and all that. See you guys next time.